And me and John, the name Fleetwood Mac, people understandably think that, maybe we formed the band, and it just seemed a really timely thing emotionally for me at this point in my career and life.
When people think of Mick Fleetwood, they see the tall drummer from one of rock's best bands, the guy whose consistent rhythm kept Fleetwood Mac going through many ups and downs. They notice the musician with wild hair who was part of making Rumours, one of the top-selling albums ever. But what they don't see is how the famous drummer is living now, at 77 years old, in a situation that would make his millions of fans around the world very sad. The man who used to seem unbreakable, who got through every band problem and personal trouble with his usual positive outlook, now faces his toughest time. In recent years, he has faced tough losses that have made him feel alone, having money troubles, and doubting everything he used to care about. Mick's later years have turned difficult, starting with the sad loss of his best friend and the damage to his cherished sanctuary in the Maui wildfires.
To really advocate and celebrate the music that we played with Peter at the helm.
Because he went his own way. He had issues with drugs, particularly LSD, and mental health issues as well, didn't he? Which are...
What we found out about his current situation shows a sad truth. Even rock legends face the tough realities of getting older, losing things, and dealing with the mistakes from their past. Mick Fleetwood faced a difficult period when Christine McVie died on November 30th, 2022, at the age of 79. For many, this was the unfortunate news of a skilled musician's passing. For Mick, it was the end of everything he was used to. Christine was more than just a bandmate to Mick. She was his musical partner, his best friend, and the one stable thing in all of Fleetwood Mac's craziness. Even though Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham had their hard romantic issues, and other band members came and went quickly, Mick and Christine stayed as the steady base of the group.
That
plagued him for years.
that is true, and Peter's spoken to that. But this is so not about that. This is about celebrating his music.
Their friendship was much more than just music. Christine was the person Mick relied on during his toughest times, like his bankruptcy in 1984 and his battles with cocaine addiction. She was there when his marriages ended, when the stress of fame became too hard to handle, and when the music industry tried to take advantage of him. Mick was her protector, her champion, and the one who really got her quiet strength more than anyone else. When Christine passed away due to complications after a stroke, Mick was one of the first to hear the sad news. Friends who know him say he became very sad and couldn't understand that his best friend was gone for good. He had to tell the other band members and share the news with everyone else, a task that felt really hard to handle. Mick felt the sadness more deeply than any other loss he had experienced in his long life. This wasn't just about personal hurt. It was the understanding that the original group of Fleetwood Mac was now forever changed. All those dreams of getting back together in the future, of growing old and making music together, suddenly felt impossible. For someone who had spent his whole adult life with the band, this ending was really hard to take.
And that's where I sort of put a shield around what we're doing. And it's really Peter is and was a dear, dear friend.
People who know Mick say he hasn't really gotten over Christine's death. He's still in a long period of sadness, having a hard time believing that she's really gone. The man who was always the band's support, the steady presence that kept everything in place, suddenly felt lost without his anchor. As if losing Christine McVie wasn't hard enough, fate had another tough surprise for Mick Fleetwood. In August 2023, the wildfires in Maui hit Lahaina hard, taking away homes and businesses, including Mick's favorite restaurant, Fleetwood's on Front Street. This wasn't just a business loss for Mick. The restaurant was his safe place, something he loved to work on, and a way for him to help the Maui community he had lived in for many years. Since it opened in 2012, Fleetwood's on Front Street became more than just a restaurant. It was Mick's safe space from the stress of being a rock star, and his link to a community that welcomed him like family. Mick had put a lot of effort and care into the place. He would often perform there, making special, close moments for both locals and visitors. The restaurant showed all the things he loved about Maui: the relaxed vibe, the friendly community, and the lovely island life. It was the place where he felt most like himself. Not the rock star Mick Fleetwood, but just Mick, a guy who enjoyed good food, good music, and good company.
And changes in life did take place for him. but his music is so unbelievably connected, which is demonstrated in the amount of incredible artists that.
When the terrible fires hit Lahaina, Mick was away and could only watch in despair as news reports showed his restaurant being taken over by fire. In a very sad statement that showed how much he's hurting, he said, "This is a terrible loss. Fleetwood's on Front Street is gone, and while we are very upset, our main focus is keeping our staff and band members safe." The loss was more than just financial issues. It was the loss of more than 10 years of memories, friendships, and community ties. Mick had created something special in Lahaina, and seeing it burn felt like losing a part of himself, another link to the life he had thoughtfully built away from the craziness of rock and roll. Even though he faced a big loss, Mick's first thought was to assist others. He set up the Malama Maui benefit concert to help raise money for fire victims, demonstrating his usual kindness even during tough times. Friends say that trying to help others while handling his own sadness has really affected his emotional and physical health. Many fans think that Mick from Fleetwood Mac is financially set after years of success. But the truth is more complicated and concerning. His previous financial difficulties and lavish way of living have put him in a tougher spot than many understand, especially with the huge expenses of possibly rebuilding after the Maui fires.
Have connected and come out to do this show
So
tomorrow.
who's taking part?
Well, I'll try and remember everyone on the show, but anyone and everyone has a very profound story.
Mick has been having financial issues for a while. They go back to his famous bankruptcy in 1984, a big financial failure that surprised the music world. His big spending and bad investment choices had taken away everything he had worked for. His stories of financial blunders became well known. He once bought a whole farm without knowing the price, later saying he just didn't get money. His cocaine use during Fleetwood Mac's top years in the late 1970s and early 1980s also played a big part in his financial troubles. Mick, like many rock stars from that time, lived freely, spending money quickly without worrying about what was ahead. The mix of drugs, poor investments, and a flashy lifestyle led to a situation that took away all his money. Mick has openly talked about his financial troubles, jokingly claiming, "I probably have the world record for the amount of money lost by a musician." This honest remark shows how much he struggled with money in the past and how it still affects him today. Mick worked hard to get his money back on track over the years, but he never reached the same wealth as some of his old bandmates. The difference is clear and tough to see. Stevie Nicks has about $120 million, while Mick's wealth is much lower, around $30 million. For someone who helped make one of the best-selling albums ever, this difference is a constant reminder of chances missed and errors made.
About why they're there. And it's all about Peter's music or the early years of Fleetwood Mac. Yeah. Peter Townsend is there.
Wow.
David Gilmour, Steven Tyler from Aerosmith, Billy Gibbons, Zach Starkey, Ringo's lovely.
The loss of his restaurant in Maui, which was a big investment and a key source of income, has brought fresh financial troubles when he should be relaxing in retirement. He's really thinking hard about whether to rebuild because the costs are very high, and it feels like a lot to handle emotionally at his age. Mick Fleetwood, at 77, is dealing with the challenges of getting older, and his loved ones are becoming more concerned about his health, both physical and mental. The mix of sadness, money worries, and feeling alone after a big loss has clearly affected the lively drummer. Friends and family have seen big changes in Mick's mood and energy since Christine passed away and the fires in Maui. The man who used to be the center of every party, known for his big personality and lively spirit, has become quiet and sad. His well-known sense of humor, which helped him get through many years of band issues and personal challenges, seems to have faded a lot. He spends a lot of time by himself now, having a hard time enjoying things that used to make him happy. Music, which used to bring him joy and comfort, has turned painful now that Christine isn't there to enjoy it with him. Picking up drumsticks makes him think of what he's lost, turning his biggest passion into something painful.
Son, who's playing drums, Christine McVie will be there, and I'm probably omitting 3 or 4 other incredible
Such a great
players.
cast list. You mentioned the great music he's written, and I remember from when I was a kid, things like Albatross and Noel, but he wrote, for me...
His age is showing more and more in how it affects him physically. Years of drumming have affected his body, and he now moves more slowly and carefully than he did when he was younger. The stress from recent losses seems to have made him look older, with people around him noticing how much weaker he seems since Christine passed away, Mick feels even more alone because he lives in Maui. The island used to be his paradise, but after the destruction of Lahaina and his restaurant, it now feels filled with memories of what is gone. Every familiar street corner and beach now reminds us of the community ties that were lost in the fires. He has a tough choice to make that feels really hard right now. Should he rebuild in the same place or begin again somewhere new? Leaving Maui feels like giving up another part of who he is. But staying with constant reminders of loss seems just as hard. Not working with others in music regularly has really hurt his mental health. Mick has always used music as his main way to express himself and let out his feelings. Without Christine, and with Fleetwood Mac's future unclear, he has lost his biggest way to express himself creatively. This quietness has made him feel lost and separated from who he is as a performer.
One of the finest pop songs ever, which was Man of the World.
Well, Man of the World is actually someone that I've just forgotten to say is going to be sung by Neil Finn, who's presently, of course, in Fleetwood Mac.
Yeah.
What's really sad about Mick's situation is that it's making him face a lot of regrets from his life. At 77, he has a lot of time to think about the choices he made, the chances he missed, and the relationships he might have overlooked. He still feels the burden of the financial mistakes he made when he was younger. If he had been more careful with his money and thought more about his investments, he would feel more secure today. Being truly financially independent would let him grieve without stress, rebuild without pressure, and make choices based on what feels right instead of what he can pay for. His past battles with addiction still affect his life today. The time wasted on cocaine, the relationships hurt by his unpredictable actions, and the job chances missed because he wasn't there or dependable all add to his feeling of loneliness now. Even though he's been sober for many years, the effects of those decisions still impact his life.
Yeah, because it's such a poignant song about a young man who has everything but is still just
It's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
It's heartbreaking, and we had, as band members, had no idea to properly empathize with.
He really wishes he had spent more time with Christine when he could. Like a lot of folks, he thought there would always be more time for talks, more chances to make music together, and more years to enjoy their friendship. Her unexpected passing reminds us that time is limited and that special moments, once lost, can't be brought back. Mick Fleetwood is getting close to his 78th birthday, and things ahead seem unclear and sometimes gloomy. The man who used to seem unbreakable, who got through every Fleetwood Mac problem and personal struggle with his positive attitude, now faces challenges that feel too big to handle. He's really thinking a lot about what will happen with Fleetwood Mac. Now that Christine is gone, and the relationships with the other band members are complicated by many years of history, it looks unlikely that we will have meaningful musical collaboration. He has said openly that going on without Christine seems impossible, leaving him without the job that has shaped his whole adult life. Deciding to rebuild his restaurant in Maui brings both a chance and a challenge. It might give him a sense of purpose and help him feel closer to the community he cares about, but the emotional and financial effort needed seems overwhelming for him at this stage in life. The restaurant was more than just a business. It was his way of giving back to a community that had brought him peace and acceptance. Starting fresh seems both needed and hard to do.
What Peter was actually going through, we simply weren't equipped to realize the subtleties of someone that is, in essence, crying out, which is a lesson learned.
His health issues make his future even more uncertain. Even though he hasn't shared any big health problems, people around him are concerned about how stress and sadness might affect his health. Being older and dealing with emotional pain makes things delicate, needing thoughtful care and help. Mick's current situation is even more sad because it might take away from his amazing musical legacy. This is a man who helped make some of the most loved music of the 20th century, whose drumming laid the groundwork for songs that have been part of millions of lives everywhere.
And it's a song that, I mean, is close to your
It's
heart, isn't
in my
it?
top 10. As always.
In fact, you did promise in the dressing room
I'm
this
not
morning
going
that
to
you
ruin
would,
Mick's
you
morning
would
by even beginning to sing it.
I might have to blow the whistle on you.
Yes, you are wearing a whistle around your neck.
What is the whistle for, Mick?
Fleetwood Mac's Rumours album, with Mick's steady beat, has sold more than 40 million copies around the world and keeps reaching new listeners with every generation. His impact on rock music is huge, his effect on many drummers is clear, and his part in keeping Fleetwood Mac together during tough times was remarkable. But now, instead of being praised for these accomplishments, he's having a hard time just making it through each day. It's sad to see how different his public image is from his personal struggles. Fans everywhere keep enjoying his music while he is alone in Maui, feeling sad for his friend and wondering if his life's work matters without Christine to share it with. One of the saddest things about Mick's situation is that he seems to have lost a lot of his natural hope and strength. The man who once recovered from bankruptcy, addiction, and many band breakups now finds it hard to see a way ahead. Friends say he seems to be just getting by in everyday life, lacking the energy that used to make him so interesting. The excitement that helped him face many challenges over the years has turned into a tired acceptance of what he has lost. The future, which used to seem full of chances, now feels restricted by sadness, getting older, and what's happening around us.
Well, I used to wear a whistle on stage. I don't quite know why. It was a police whistle.
Okay.
And I don't anymore. And then I suddenly thought, this is actually not the one. But I thought, with what we're doing, it was apropos. So I've been holding on. Sound guy's probably going crazy, right?
Mick Fleetwood didn't get the retirement he deserved. After a life of bringing happiness to many with his music and overcoming every challenge in the industry, he deserves to enjoy his later years filled with love, safety, and the contentment of a life well lived. Instead, he deals with each day filled with sadness and not knowing what will happen. Mick Fleetwood's story shows us that being famous and successful doesn't shield anyone from the basic human feelings of loss, getting older, and regret. Every legend is just a person who has the same fears, hopes, and weaknesses as everyone else. His current challenges don't take away from his successes or what he's done for music. They actually make his legacy more meaningful. This is a man who put his all into his art, who connected with millions through his music, and who now approaches his later years with the same bravery he showed in every other challenge he faced in life. Mick Fleetwood's current situation isn't just about one person's sadness. It's about understanding that time affects us all, that losing someone is a part of life, and that even our heroes are just people in the end. His story reminds us to appreciate the people we care about, to forgive ourselves for past mistakes, and to discover meaning and purpose even in tough times. Mick Fleetwood, at 77, keeps tackling each day with the strength he has. Even though what he's going through is really sad, his ability to keep going despite such a huge loss shows the strength that made him a legend. It's unclear if he will find his way back to happiness and meaning. But one thing is clear, the music he made will keep bringing joy to others even after his own challenges are over. The music continues, even when the drummer is having a hard time keeping up with life without those who made it special.